Hey, it's Macky again. We're back and we're going through the investigative process. So we're on part 4 of 5, but the step we're on is step 3 today. That is test assumptions with tools. This is the most exciting part. This is where people get excited. This is what they see on TV with investigators taking photos, running video, hidden cameras, crazy things like that. That's where we go out and do our job and test the assumptions. But we have an assumption we're trying to test. Okay. And we're going to go through some assumptions that are common today and talk about how we test those. Okay. And I'll write it down on, we got some assumptions here. I'm going to change out my page here. Let me change it over real quick. All right. And we're on step 3. Test. All right. We're testing. So over here on this side, I'm going to write assumptions. Over here, I'm going to write the test we're going to use. Okay. All right. So that's why we list out the assumptions at the beginning of the case. And then we say, here's how we're going to test this out. That way, when the client comes back later on and they say, hey, you guys didn't do anything right. And we go, yeah, we did. Here's our process we went through. And here's your report. They can, I don't want to be ugly, but sometimes people just get mad because their life is going bad in general. And they try to say we didn't do our job. But we can list out our process, show how we went through the process, and we're on step 3 now where we're actually testing. That's where we're out doing surveillance, all right? Let's go with the big one that people like to talk about, and that is cheating spouse. All right? Cheating spouse is a big one, and how we test that is through surveillance. All right, that's our tool. I'm going to put tool here. All right, that's our tool. So we do it through surveillance. We may do that from our car. We may do it from walking around, but we're going to have a recorder of some kind. We have video recorders. We have our phones is a big one we use when we're on foot, like in a bar, in a restaurant, walking around a neighborhood. We use our phones for that. And then our cars, we use camcorders. All right, nothing crazy. We don't use SLR with the big super telephoto lens like you see on TV and in the photos. Those things are limited in what they can do. Our handy cams we use have night vision, so we work great at night. But yeah, we test it with surveillance. We get out, we make a plan. A lot of people ask us about using GPS trackers on cars. We're kind of getting away from that a little bit now because they made it so difficult. We have to, somebody has to show me on paper where they own an actual vehicle before I will put a tracker on it. All right. They got to be listed on there. Okay. It used to be a little more loose where the person could say, well, we're married and we own it together. It was purchased during the marriage. Technically, you're right, but somebody could press that in court and get me in trouble and get us, and none of the evidence hold up in court. So another big one is, let's talk about some of our assumptions we had on the other one. Faking injuries. The tool we use there, again, is surveillance. I'm going to wait before I write another one down here. There is another one we use here. But faking injuries, that's where they're going out and they're saying, hey, we're paying this guy for workers' compensation, or this guy was injured in a car wreck where the insurance company's got a big payout going on for medical purposes, and they're not injured. We don't think they are, okay? And we can do surveillance, and we can also do witness interviews. We've done that before, okay, where we said we did the surveillance and there was people around and we said, hey, is Johnny really hurt? And they go, nah, he's been working for 2 weeks for us. So they will tell you, a lot of people, they will double dip. They will draw money from the insurance company, be on workers' comp, but they'll go work at another place in secret, get money under the table, you name it. Okay, we had it where a guy was working on a farm, doing a great job. The problem was he was drawing a check from his previous company on a workers' compensation claim. So that's a big problem, okay? Another assumption is there's new evidence. That's a common one with the Rule 32s where people are in jail they're saying, hey, there's new evidence out there to be discovered. Okay, that typically comes from witnesses. We do that through interviews. The microphone in the way. We can just turn it a little bit if you can. We can possibly turn it a little bit there. And we do that through interviews. Now, the big thing about these is we're trying to locate people, excuse me, that may be 20 years after the fact or more. So they could be dead, this person we're trying to find. They could not want to talk about it. They could say, hey, I've moved on with my life. I'm not going to discuss it. And we try to coerce them and saying, look, let's do the right thing and try to get this person out of jail because they shouldn't be there. And oftentimes they will talk to us. They say, hey, I want to do the right thing. And we'll do an interview and they can explain to us whatever we're trying to prove. If the client says, I wasn't at the crime scene when this person got murdered or this accident happened, then this person can vouch for them. Now, typically on a Rule 32, just one person saying it's not enough. You have to have multiple eyewitnesses saying that their client was not there or whatever. But yeah, we go out and we try to find these people. We can also do that through a accident recreation. Sometimes that happens when police rush to convict someone. They rush to arrest someone, and then there's a rush to convict. Sometimes the police didn't go through any kind of recreation. They just made an assumption, and they didn't test it, okay? We're going to test those assumptions that the police made and see if it's feasible. We got one going on now where a young lady was found at the bottom of a 200-foot cliff, okay? Now, when she was found by an anonymous, this was given to the police by an anonymous tip, by the way. She'd been out there for over a year. Her body and bones were scattered about by wild animals. But the police just assumed that she was picked up over a ledge and thrown over, okay, alive, all right? We've done several tests with dummies and whatnot and showing that another woman could not do it, all right? It had to be two men that carried out this feat. And we tried to test it out with two women. They couldn't pull it off. Two men did, and it was a struggle. But two men actually did get the dummy over the ledge, out onto the cliff, and off the side. So that's just testing. It's nothing fancy like you see on Dexter or anything. It's just going out and testing what the police assume. That's what we do. All right. And that can be new evidence as well. Okay. Some other assumptions we might make is my spouse is hiding assets. All right, how we test that, we talked about it, is through surveillance and research. We got one going on now where the guy, during his interrogatories, meaning they're getting divorced, and he put down that he owned one house and a car. Okay. All right. So we went through several states, public sites. Now, if you get into these public sites, it's there, but it's not easy to find. They're not user-friendly, if that makes sense. So we were able to find that he's got about 12 properties spread across 3 states that he's purchased under a LLC. So this is all purchased while he was married to his wife. So she gets part of those proceeds. All right. So that was brought up, and he had to go back and redo his interrogatories because now he's talking about negotiating. He wasn't going to at first. He's talking about alimony now and some different things so that she doesn't take him to the cleaners with these properties he's purchased and tried to hide from her. All right. So research is a tool as well. Another big assumption is I'm hacked. All right. I'm hacked. We get that one a lot. Okay. Some people think they're hacked, but they're really not. They given somebody access to their cloud services years ago, and they just didn't know that the person still had access to it. But anyway, the tools we use here are Mobile Edit for mobile devices. For computers and servers, we use FTK Imager, and then we use EaseUS, and we use Autopsy. Okay, those are digital tools, by the way. But all those tools tell us if that device was hacked by some type of virus, some type of malware, spyware, and it tells us the method that the person got it put on there. Okay, EaseUS goes in and gives us the deleted data off of computers and those things. Autopsy does as well, and Autopsy will give us some files and means of where somebody may have hacked somebody and how they did it. Autopsy is a good tool. It's free, by the way. The FBI still uses it. But yeah, I'm hacked. We go in and that's how we test them through mobile edit. We use forensically sound tools so that people can say, we can say either you are or you're not. All right. And we can report that in court. And the court will be like, did you go through some kind of process? And we're like, yes, we did. Here's our process. And they're like, okay. All right. And another big assumption we get is listening devices. People say, I have listening devices in my house. Okay. And we go in and test that. We have a electronic, we have a tool that we use that picks up electronic signals, and it'll tell us where they are. Now, this tool, I don't have it here with me. It's probably in my car, but it'll tell us where the signal's coming from. Then it's up to us to dig for it. Okay. We've seen anything from wall plates, outlets that look real when you're just looking at it. You can actually plug in a vacuum cleaner or anything, and it'll actually run. But it actually, where that screw is or somewhere around there, it actually has a listening device, and it has a power source there, so you don't have to change batteries. A lot of people, we've actually found where they had microphones that required a battery, where they may have listened for a while, but it was dead at the time. And we found those up under a couch one time. So yeah, we find all types of listening devices. It is real. Big one we're seeing now is where they actually hack the Siri and those different type of smart home devices. And they've actually hacked into those, usually through the cloud, and they can listen in on what's going on. So something to think about. But yeah, we test those. We test how we test if there's devices there, physical inspection, and then ECM, electronic countermeasures. That's our tool we use to see if there is electronic signals being transmitted. Once we find it, then we actually have to dig in physically and look for it, whether it's under a couch, in a ceiling vent. We've seen cameras in ceiling vents before, so it don't have to be a listening device. It can be a camera as well. I got a ceiling vent. That's why I keep looking up. There's one right there. But we've seen them where they put them in there before, and they can see everything that's going on. So yeah, that's a big assumption we get is listening devices. And another one is my car has a tracker. Our electronic countermeasures tool doesn't work good on cars, but it does pick up magnets. That's a big thing. Most of your trackers today, if they're stuck on the outside, they're either in a box with magnets on there, or it's a little Land Air C54 with a magnet built in, and you can slap it on the bottom. That thing will pick up pick up the magnetic part of that device and give you and sound off and let you know it's there. Mostly cars, though, you're up underneath that thing with a flashlight, digging around looking for it. We know where they're mainly put if they're hidden well, so we know where to look and where to look under them. Another place people put them is under the seats of cars, so it's a physical search. It's a physical search. We're just up underneath the seats with a flashlight. I've seen people put tiles in glove boxes before. That little pouch behind the seats, I've seen people put tiles in there before. Tiles are getting better, by the way. They used to be where they would just pick up on Wi-Fi signals and give you a location. But they're getting better now, where you can actually program them like the Land Air Cs, and it actually transmits to the cell tower. So it'll tell you where they are on the cell, if it has that enabled chip in it. But they are getting better and smaller and more discreet. So you got to be careful. But it's a physical physical search is what we're doing. So yeah, if you think any of these things are happening, that's how we test them out in step 3 with the tools. And we're going to move on to part 4, which is reporting facts. Talk to you soon.